5 UTEP Miners to watch. Miners with an E, not Miners with an O.
Yes.
We don't need hookers watching minors here. So we're gonna go down this list. I'm gonna start off with this, Dave.
I feel like this is the R. Kelly segment. 5 minors to watch.
Said roll around sitting on doves. Okay,
sorry. I mean, that's the thing. He would find a 16-year-old he thought was cute, and then keep an eye on her till the day she turned 18, and then she got a phone call. Creepy. All right, 5 minors to watch. Number 5. Restart that segment. Number 5 minors to watch is who?
5 UTEP Miners to watch against Tennessee. I am going to start by saying I'm leaving out the quarterbacks. Caden McConnell has been banged up all year. He was their star. Skylar Locklear has been starting in his place. He hit concussion protocol at the end of October. It's very debatable what's going to happen at quarterback. So I am throwing the quarterback out. Don't worry about who's playing quarterback at UTEP.
Don't worry about who's playing quarterback at UT. All right, who's next?
Yes. Number 5 is Maurice Westmoreland. I have done all the possible research in the world to find out if this is Eric Westmoreland's son, and I see nothing to connect them. I thought it was. I was going to be excited, but
I did the same thing when Hendon Hooker was playing quarterback.
Really? Even though he was a different color?
No, you didn't look at it. I'm as Scotch Irish as they get, and he is not. So we may be related. I'm not saying my great-grandmother, didn't get around. I don't know. But it seems highly illogical that we're related.
Yeah. So Maurice Westmoreland is one of the top 5 NFL prospects on this team. He only has 4.5 sacks and
Wait, one of the top 5 NFL prospects on this team or in the draft?
On UTEP. On UTEP.
Okay. Because there's not a UTEP player that's going to go in the first round.
No, there's not. But he has 4.5 sacks, 6 tackles for a loss. He is their edge rusher specialist. And given what we've been talking about Tennessee's offensive tackles this year, they need to watch out for every edge rusher, particularly in this 3-3-5 that Scotty Walden's going to run at Tennessee. They're going to confuse the tackles at times. So Maurice Westmoreland could be dangerous.
I'm not worried about the true edge rushers anymore with Tennessee. I think Tennessee gets out and gets their hands on them. And I think once Lance Hurd does that, as long as they don't hold, and John Campbell does that, I think they're in good shape. My concern is like the kid at Arkansas who realized that they were overplaying on the outside, and he started coming into the B gap. That's my concern. That was a highly intelligent game by that young man whose name eludes me. I'll give him the ultimate compliment. He needs to be a Dallas Cowboy tomorrow. Who's next?
All right, up next is Kenny Odom. Now, Kenny Odom is basically the only offensive weapon they have. He's got 36 catches for 642 yards and 7 touchdowns on the year. He's a 5'8", 163-pound receiver, Dave. So they sneak him out into the flats and over the middle of the field to make plays. And those like little sneaky guys can always kind of be hard to account for when you're on defense because they just come out of nowhere. My best example is, you remember Trendon Holiday at LSU?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. He's that type of guy. So you got to watch out for him no matter what. Kind
of
like
Honey Badger. Honey Badger is a good example. When I first saw him play, I was like, he doesn't have size speed ratio to be able to do this thing. He's not big enough. And I was like, oh, my bad.
Yeah. The funniest one, though, is the guy who wasn't even that fast, but he managed to sneak out in every play was Jacob Hester. Remember that?
Yep.
He could catch you. We're just naming LSU guys that did it. But yeah, I think that I think Kenny Odom could be that type of guy. He's kind of like what Tennessee wanted Squirrel White to be this year, if we're being honest.
Yep. Okay, so you're talking about offense. I was talking about small guys as a whole. Okay, who is next? Are we down to number 2?
No, we're down to number 3 because remember, I'm ignoring the quarterbacks.
Okay,
Number 3 is Corey Chapman. He leads the team. He's the nickel, Dave, but he leads the team with 11 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, has an interception. Scotty Walden likes to use him a lot on different gadget plays and things like that. You talk about not being worried about the offensive tackle, about the edge rushers, you're probably right. But he's the type of guy that will confuse the offensive line if they're not careful, because they'll send him on different stunts and blitzes that they may not be ready for.
Well, they haven't handled stunts and blitzes particularly well at times this season, especially in October. All right.
They've been horrible. By the way, we haven't really questioned Glenn Ellerbe the way we should. How is the offensive line not picking up stunts and blitzes?
I saw that post in the message. Here's why I don't have a problem with Glenn Ellerbe. Is I don't think he's been given a full set of tools in a toolbox. I don't think. I think it's been you either get this guy
Is that
ready.
somewhat not on him though? Do you not think has Josh Heupel's ear over who he wants to get?
I think Tennessee has had to play the game to this point of getting guys that Georgia and Alabama were so on. And I think they've had to play the early evaluation game. So I don't have a problem there not to Georgia's front. Now, I'm not saying they couldn't have overcome that. And by year 4, just like Josh Heupel said on Monday, you should go out there and compete for championships. A what? What's the word they call it? A moral loss. I mean, they're past that.
They're way past that. They're way past the moral loss.
But I will say this. I don't think they're past the point where they say, hey, Tennessee, we have the exact same amount of talent that Georgia does. I think they're close, and I don't think there's a talent issue, but I do believe that it's still out there. All right, number 2, Caleb.
Number 2 on this list is Dorian Hopkins. Dorian Hopkins is the middle linebacker for this team. Again, in Scotty Walden's 3-3-5, the linebackers make huge plays and can confuse the offensive line. And I don't know if he runs a 3-3-5 regularly, but he ran it at Tennessee last year, and he's going to run it again on Saturday, guys. And Josh Heupel still hasn't proven he can figure that out. Hopkins leads the team in total tackles with 73. He's got 28 solo tackles, excuse me. And he also has 8 tackles for a loss to sack. And Dave, he also has 2 picks, a fumble recovery, and a forced fumble. So he pretty much has the whole shebang. Your typical classic middle linebacker.
All right, bank on it. The number 1 Miner to watch is whom? And it's brought to you by our good friends at Commercial Bank. Commercial Bank, member FDIC. Life made better. I love them. Been in business with over 20 years. You should move. Commercial Bank. Tell them that Off the Hook Sports sent you.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank. Life made better.
The number 1 Miner to watch is whom?
Sion Tonga'uiha.
Oh my gosh, is he related to a Tonga'uiha? No, they might have spelled this.
Well, he is the nose tackle for UTEP. And he basically is, and you know this, Dave, they call him a space eater. A good space eater in a 3-3-5 defense can make the defense dominant. Now, spoiler alert, he's 6 feet, 295 pounds. So he's not going to be a space eater against Power 5 competition typically. But he understands leverage, from my understanding. So it'll be kind of a leverage battle between him and Cooper Mays. I think Cooper Mays should win this one-on-one battle with him no matter what. And if he does, Tennessee's offense will roll. But if you have to...
Go ahead.
If you have to move a guard, if you have to move an extra blocker over and let him eat up space, then all of a sudden Tennessee could have problems with their offense.
Cooper said before that he prefers playing bigger nose guards because he feels like his speed then helps him. This guy's a smaller one, but let's face it. He's at UTEP. He's a minor. Coop's going to be just fine. Would we agree with that? And Coop's probably coming off one of his not so better games against Georgia. So I think he's very motivated and very much will manhandle this young man. I'm not excited about this young man or playing this game if I'm this young man today. I'm glad you pointed him out, but I think this is going to be a long day for whatever you call him.
Sion Tonga'uiha. No, I agree. I think it's mostly going to be a long day. I just think for Tennessee to not sputter offensively and be able to put this game away early, they need to make sure they manhandle them.
Okay, so the poll question along these lines, now that we've given you the 5 minors to watch, not R. Kelly style, but 5 minors to watch